We're about to take a wild ride through the looking glass into the bizarre, fascinating, and sometimes downright hilarious world of the Korean Peninsula. So get ready. Imagine, if you will, two parallel universes side by side, yet so different they might as well be on different planets. In one corner, we have South Korea, a neon-lit wonderland where the future is now, and the only limit is your imagination and maybe your credit card balance. In the other, we have North Korea, a place where time seems to have stopped somewhere around 1954. And the only thing more plentiful than propaganda posters is the sense of unease that permeates every aspect of life. But before we dive into the juicy details, let's take a step back and ask ourselves, how did we get here? How did two countries that once shared a common history, language, and culture end up so drastically different? Buckle up, because it's a tale of war, division, and the kind of ideological tug-of-war that would make even the most seasoned diplomat's head spin. It all started back in 1945 when the Korean Peninsula was liberated from Japanese colonial rule after World War II. The United States and the Soviet Union, in their infinite wisdom, decided to split the peninsula along the 38th parallel, with the Soviets taking the north and the Americans taking the south. What could possibly go wrong, right? Fast forward a few years, and the two sides had set up their own governments, each claiming to be the legitimate ruler of the entire peninsula. In 1950, North Korea, backed up by the Soviets and China, invaded the South, kicking off a brutal 3-year conflict that left millions dead and the country in ruins. When the dust settled, the two sides were right back where they started, with a heavily fortified border separating them and a whole lot of bad blood between them. But that's just the background. Let's get to the juicy stuff, shall we? First up, let's talk about the economic disparity between these two countries, which is so vast it's almost comical. South Korea, with its high-tech industry and busy cities, has a GDP per capita of around $34,000. That's thanks in no small part to companies like Samsung, Hyundai, and LG, which have become household names around the world. These are the folks responsible for most of the blinking, beeping gadgets in your home, and they've helped make South Korea one of the most technologically advanced countries on the planet. Meanwhile, just a few miles north, North Korea's GDP per capita is estimated to be a paltry $1,300. Yep, you read that right, $1,300. That's less than what some people spend on avocado toast in a month. The reason for this disparity is pretty simple. North Korea is still clinging to a centrally planned economy that makes Soviet-era Russia look like a capitalist wonderland. The government controls everything, from what crops are planted to what goods are produced, and the result is an economy that's about as dynamic as a bowl of cold porridge. But it's not just about the money. It's about the way technology has transformed every aspect of South Korean life, from the way they shop to the way they communicate. Let me paint you a picture. You're walking down the streets of Seoul, minding your own business, when suddenly you realize you forgot to buy milk. No problem. You whip out your smartphone, open up your favorite grocery delivery app, and bam! You got a fresh carton of milk on its way to your doorstep in 15 minutes flat. And the best part? You can pay for it with your phone, too. No cash, no cards, no problem. But wait, there's more. Let's say you're waiting for your milk to arrive and you decide to video chat with your friend in Busan. Except instead of the grainy, pixelated mess you might expect, you're greeted with a crystal clear 4K image that makes it feel like your friend is right there in the room with you. And all of this is happening while you're riding the subway, which, by the way, has Wi-Fi speeds that would make NASA jealous. It's like living in a science fiction movie, except instead of dystopian robots, you've got adorable K-pop idols dancing on every screen. Now, let's hop across the border to North Korea, where the most advanced piece of technology most people have access to is a state-controlled intranet called Kwangmyong. If that sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry, well, you're not far off. Imagine a version of the internet with no social media, no international news, and no funny cat videos. Just endless pages of propaganda, state-approved news, and maybe a few recipes for kimchi thrown in for good measure. And if you're one of the lucky few North Koreans who actually has a smartphone, well, you can bet your bottom dollar that the government is keeping a very close eye on what you're doing with it. The idea of video chatting with someone outside the country is about as likely as Kim Jong-un doing a duet with Taylor Swift. And even if you could, you'd probably have to do it by carrier pigeon because the country's cell phone network is about as reliable as a chocolate teapot. But perhaps nothing illustrates the stark difference between these two countries quite like their pop culture scenes. In South Korea, entertainment is a global export, with K-dramas and K-pop acts like BTS and Blackpink taking the world by storm. The Korean wave, or Hallyu, has become so influential that it's practically a form of soft power, with fans from Los Angeles to Lagos falling in love with all things Korean. The production value of South Korean entertainment is staggering. K-pop music videos have budgets that rival Hollywood films, with sets ranging from Dubai skyscrapers to Icelandic glaciers. The idol training system is so rigorous, it makes Navy SEAL boot camp look like a day at the spa. These kids start training at ages that would make most of us feel like underachievers, spending years honing their dancing, singing, and rapping skills before they even debut. And when they finally do, it's like watching a finely tuned machine, with choreography so precise you could set your watch by it. And don't even get me started on the Korean film industry. These folks are out here winning Oscars and making the rest of the world look like amateur hour. Movies like Parasite and Minari have proven that Korean cinema can compete with the best of the best, and they got the hardware to prove it. Now, let's take a trip up north to the glorious Democratic People's Republic of Korea, where the most exciting thing on TV is a documentary about cement production. No, seriously, that's a real thing. And if you're lucky, you might catch a rerun of one of the country's most beloved classics, like The Flower Girl or Sea of Blood. These movies are so old, they make black and white films look cutting edge. But wait, there's still more! North Korea does have its own version of a pop band, the Moranbong Band. This all-female group was handpicked by none other than Kim Jong-un himself, and they're known for their catchy tunes about things like agricultural output and the glorious leader's greatness. It's like if the Spice Girls were formed by Stalin and had to sing about tractors instead of girl power. But it's not just the entertainment industry where the differences are stark. In South Korea, the gaming scene is so advanced it makes the rest of the world look like a bunch of Luddites. They've got entire TV channels dedicated to esports, with tournaments that draw crowds bigger than most traditional sporting events. They got PC bangs, gaming cafes on every corner, with setups that would make even the most hardcore gamer drool. And they're not just playing games, they're making them too. Some of the most popular video games in the world, like PUBG and Lineage, were created by South Korean developers. Meanwhile, in North Korea, the most exciting video game is probably a riveting simulation of tractor driving, complete with patriotic background music. The closest thing they have to esports is probably Kim Jong-un playing Space Invaders on an old Atari console. And don't even get me started on the fashion scenes in these two countries. In South Korea, you got street style that makes Milan Fashion Week look like a suburban mall. These folks are so fashionable they make Anna Wintour look like a slob. And the beauty standards? Let's just say that the average South Korean skincare routine could be mistaken for a chemistry experiment. They got more steps than a Stairmaster and more products than a Sephora. But in North Korea, fashion choices are limited to a handful of government-approved styles, and wearing jeans is considered a sign of Western decadence. The closest thing they have to a fashion icon is probably Kim Jong-un's wife, Ri Sol-ju, who made headlines a few years back for daring to wear a skirt that showed her ankles. How scandalous! But perhaps the most obvious difference between these two countries lies in the realm of personal freedom. In South Korea, you can pretty much do, say, and believe whatever you want, within reason, of course. You can start a YouTube channel criticizing the government, dye your hair neon green and become a street artist, or convert to Pastafarianism and worship the flying spaghetti monster. The possibilities are endless! But in North Korea, personal freedom is a foreign concept. The government controls every aspect of life, from where you live and work to what you can watch, read, and listen to. Even something as simple as getting a haircut is dictated by the state, with a list of approved styles that make the Beatles look like rebellious hippies. And if you dare to step out of line, well, let's just say that the consequences are not pretty. It's easy to laugh at the absurdity of it all, but the reality is sobering. These two countries, once a single nation with a shared history and culture, have diverged so drastically that they might as well be on different planets. South Korea's meteoric rise from poverty to technological superpower is a testament to the power of openness, innovation, and relatively free markets. North Korea's stagnation and oppression serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of isolation and totalitarianism. But perhaps the most remarkable thing of all is that despite the divisions, the differences, and the decades of propaganda, there is still a flicker of hope for reconciliation. In recent years, we've seen glimmers of progress, from joint sport teams to historic summits between leaders. It's a reminder that beneath the surface, beyond the neon lights and the propaganda posters, there is still a shared humanity that binds these two nations together. So the next time you find yourself marveling at the latest K-drama or chuckling at a meme about Kim Jong-un's latest antics, take a moment to appreciate the incredible contrast that is the Korean Peninsula. It's a tale of two countries, two systems, and two very different visions of the future. And who knows, maybe one day, in a twist worthy of the most dramatic K-drama, we'll see these two worlds come together again, united by their shared love of kimchi, soju, and incredibly catchy pop songs. Stranger things have happened, right? Please share and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And of course, like it. And please let us know what you'd like to watch next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.